Good morning everybody and welcome back to Hyrule Well, the very small castle portion of Hyrule that we have worked on so far. Of course we are staring at the docs file from last week that we worked on our real large scale Hyrule Castle from Breath of the Wild MOC. And I wanted to remind us about what we were going to be doing today by just quickly zooming back into our joint test file so far and taking a very nice look at this white rim, because what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be taking this white rim off the castle into its own separate file, and we're going to be building the first structural piece to start capping in what we've got on the docks before we start sprawling out towards the prison, which is something I'm very, very excited for. But we're going to take this into a file and make us a Technic frame. This is a job I'm not looking forward to because Technic can be really painful to work with. So we're going to go for more of like a pseudo frame. So something that could be structural integrity, but will probably need reinforcing in real life at some point. But that is not a problem for today. That is a problem for future Octane. So let's jump straight into a file, and I'm going to cut out the painful part. So hopefully it will already be done. I did say I'd cut out the painful part. So here is the first stage. First thing I suppose I should join your attention to is that our white line is actually still here. You can see that at the very bottom. That was just what I used as a template to line up all of the bits, and you can see it very roughly follows the same curve. A lot of it lines up, a lot of it doesn't, using these wedges and things, but we've got a nice dark grey edge which is continuous and unbroken all the way around, and then we've got a pink monstrosity. And if you're new to the series, you may be wondering why I've chosen pink for the interior, as half these pieces aren't actually available in pink, and that is simply just because it means I can order them in any colour. A filter that is allowed on Bricklink is the colour doesn't matter, which means I can just buy the cheapest Technic frames in any colour to get the job done. And you will notice that they follow a rough grid pattern, and the undersides have been reinforced with some dark grey plates. Now I'm yet to do a top, but I think that might actually be the easiest part of this project. So I thought I'd show you a couple of the details before we sandwich them in. So of course you've got the use of normal slopes just to cover some of the longer distances, make some slower inclines, but you've also got the normal inverted slopes, regular slopes, coming to angles. Ooh, that might be a gap we need to cover up. I probably need to put a 1x2 dark bluish grey brick in there. But we've also got some cheese slopes as well as these corner pieces here, which is a new one that we haven't used much in the rock work. We've also got the wedge slopes, which allow us to do some nice sideways curves, something we don't usually have time for in the normal rock work up above. But we also have this really nice technique here, which is some snot work. It's the first time we've included some snot work on the rock work. Well, almost rhymed there, where we've got this long 1x6 slope here, which has been put onto some earlings, and then that connects into another slope on the side, which connects into some snot bricks, making a really nice and different shaped curve for us to tile over in a minute. We've got the normal slopes around here, another big indent, and again, don't worry about the white as well as the pink. We'll be covering that up in a minute. And the white will obviously disappear. That will be the grey on the layer below. I just made it white to make it more visible. We've got some more sideways ones. This one's making use of Technic pins on the inside. You've also got some more snot techniques. You've got some places where I can attach some bigger stalactites and things. And it really is quite a large plate. You really don't get a sense of how big this is. But each one of these is a conscious decision, a conscious scroll through to find the right parts, etc, etc. It's a lot of work. And you can see a couple of gaps where I've removed pieces, and I'm sure I'll go through and do a pass just to make sure that everything is where it's supposed to be. Without further ado, let's make a top. And it's all covered. So that was a mere second for you, but plenty of painful time left for me. You will definitely see that a couple of those gaps we talked about earlier are being plugged, except for not all of them. I've still got this one to do as well as this one over here, but that is just because we've got some teething issues with the higher docks entrance, which I'll show you in a minute. However, that's not really important for today. And you can see I've also plotted out a rough curve of where the next layer of rock work, so the second layer, is going to go. And you can see that this whole back portion of the plate really isn't even going to be seen, but it's necessary for structure. You can definitely tell that this sandwiches it off really nicely, and this just proves the technique working. I mean, look at that nice snot edge and then all of his studded surface. And of course the goal is that we will grass this up and add, of course, there's actually a turret defense here. I'll put a picture up on the screen. that goes along here. So we've got to make that, and that should hopefully happen next week. But there's less to show you with this one. It's really mostly just big plates with small ones filling in the gaps, and then some wedges just to make some more interesting angles around the edge. But apart from that, it becomes pretty grid-like over here, more to its benefit. And this one won't actually be extending. This is the full size of the plate, given that everything else is at different heights all around it. So this is the first complete A1 plate, and that is as far as we're taking this one today. However, it's not all the work I've been doing, because this is really boring, so I've actually been working on some other plates. So we're going to hop over to the docks entrance, and I've got my first prototype of the other side ready to start arching it over. Yeah, so our docks now has an archway. Look at that. That's really cool. We definitely got some techniques to take a look at. So again, for those of you unfamiliar, this is the entrance to the docks. You go in here and you enter this wonderful world. So I suppose the first thing to show you is from the inside out how I've managed to continue the rock work. Obviously, you guys will see this all in a test file together at some point, and it will make so much more sense. But those files are just so big and take so long to construct, I have to ration when you guys can see them. So to make things make more sense, there'd be a plate here, and there'd be a rockwork wall that comes along with my cursor and then joins in with this, and then this actually completes the entire inner cave section. So we now have a complete inner cave. However, the back of this rockwork wall, of course, would look incredibly ugly. So we've also got the front side here, which is the actual curving cave part, which actually allows us to make it look pretty from each side. So this is the combining of the two walls at their thinnest point, the exterior and the interior skin. You can see this thing looks like an absolute mess, and that is because we've used, of course, inverted slopes to create the curving effect. So there's a lot of the 1x3 inverted, as well as the inverted like tall pillars like this one here. Obviously, I shouldn't really take that out. And you will notice that I've paid most careful attention to assume that there are no gaps seen through to the back of these slopes at any angle, which made it a lot more challenging to make this slope inwards, because I couldn't slope at a dramatic degree at any point. And actually, in the end result, I think it does look rather natural. I'm particularly pleased with how it transitions to the outside, making use of some snot techniques to make it look less jarring on its transition, as well as, of course, slopes going in different direction. This beautiful piece which slopes in two directions. Where'd it come from? There it goes, yeah. And then also some cheese slopes and things, and I think it looks really nice. And then, of course, we're transitioning into the normal outward slope, which will continue up, and I will fill this all in with pink brick in time for security purposes, well, and just strength. Of course, we've still got the rest of this plate to talk about, because this wasn't here before, at least as far as I can remember. It's been a couple of weeks. We've got all this nice normal rock work over here, which is actually sloping down. You've got this very slow gradient, making use of like a jumbled plate technique with a couple of like slopes down designed to smooth it all over. And then it actually comes down to this docks here, which is at a 45-degree angle on a hinge plate, just made out of a 6x10 plate with some studded legs underneath. And you may go, well, how have you managed to set this at the right position and then build around it? Well, I got in the next plate and just basically continued onto it, but then made sure it was detachable as well. So yes, the dock does sandwich in perfectly, and as we continue to build on this plate, I will work them together and then take this one off into its separate file as needed. Just helps the transitions be a little bit more smooth. But of course, underneath here, you can see that there is some pink support structure building up to the platform. The prison entrance is going to be right here, so we're actually making great progress. And this is, of course, the slope up to the top of the prison, which is going to be a challenge for sure. But with all these inverted slopes and things, you've got some really nice texture jobs. Of course, you've got this big stalactite using this horn piece. And I don't know, it just looks really, really cool. This is the rock work really being stretched as far as you can take it. And this took a surprising amount of time. I've also done the water inside the entrance as well. But we've got one more file to take a look at today, and that is the temp file for EXTA. I'm going to do a bit more work on this plate here, and we will see how it turns out. Did get a bit carried away, and I pretty much finished off the exterior, at least, of this plate. I mean, there's a bit more height to go, but that's all really down to my decision. The first thing I want to talk about before we take a look at the details and excitingly where this is going is, of course, this pillar at the back. This pillar is to the same height as the height before Technic frames need to start. So using my digital cube system that I showed you guys last week, I know that I have to have this platform here for the prison entrance, and then a platform on top for a fortification before we get about halfway up that castle wall. This is where this line needs to be, just to make sure everything's roughly in scale. And I know scale is sort of a loose term in this model, but there's a certain quota of detail I have to fit in before we hit this height restriction here, and that is of course what I'm working to. So there's a certain level of expectation for what I need to achieve. So that you will see being used across the next couple of weeks as I work out how we're going to do all the heights to make sure I can reach what I need to reach in the right space. So that's just there to sort of guide me. So we may see actually that I chop some of this rockwork off and we only get like one layer above this rather than two. I feel like that might make things easier. The other thing that's obviously big change down here is I finished up the support for the docks beam. You will see this of course in good time, but this is where that little dock sheet sticks out from the last file. So that should look really good when it's in there. In fact, you can even see the tiles of where this thing is sitting, which makes it really cool. We've also got all of the water done here, as well as all this nice stubby rock work, as I call it, where it doesn't quite reach its full height, and there's limited potential to use the full height rockwork bricks that was used for most of the other stuff, which creates some more interesting techniques. Of course, you've got this snot work over here, as well as this weird looking gap where I have to make them even smaller to deal with the docks. And it created an interesting curved shape where we've got these much shallower slopes and stuff, making an interesting indent. This also goes around to the back, but I haven't quite finished this yet. Around the back is as ugly as ever. And of course, we built the rockwork wall on top, which was an interesting transition here to go from full height to this sub-height thing here. And then, of course, that brings us to the most interesting thing we have here, which is, of course, the entrance to the prison. Now, the entrance to the prison is I wouldn't call this like the main castle entrance. This feels like the prisoner entrance because it's well guarded on the inside with some metal, but at the moment we've just got this wooden like mine style entrance which is quite ramshackled. We've tested out the first design for the pathways here using the 1x2 light bluish grey tile and then breaking it up where it would be broken down with wear or through attack using the corner cheese slopes and the rounded half domes, and then leaving some gaps through to some dark bluish grey studs. Of course, we could always fill these in with water as time goes on. We've got these nice dark tan little lumps outside, and while in game in Breath of the Wild these would be luminous crystals, I'm using them here to represent more of like a softer clay, maybe some excavated stone or some just mud deposits, and I think it adds a really nice piece of colour, especially once we start grassing this area up as well. We've also added these like black tiles here, which I guess could be in gunmetal grey really. They're like the iron supports that keep up the beams, which of course is a crucial part and also a very interesting technique here. So we've got these frames, these A-frames here built out of little bar attachments which just sort of float behind the build here. And actually this thing is staggered so that the wall can continue to be at an angle. This was something that sort of plays into the inside design, which is something we'll work on next week, but also just makes it look a little bit more organic while making this look a little more rough. You've got to imagine that curves continue even if you're building a straight beam, and because Lego doesn't like going at slight angles like this, I decided that this was probably the best way to do it. So it's exactly the same, it's a mirrored build on each side, the only difference being that they're at different heights and angles, because the beams are at different heights and angles, that's all the difference there is. I've made great use of the rail plates here to actually hide the little gaps that would have been present, and you can see that this just like clips on the top. It's a bit of a weak connection, but whatever will be, and of course there will be bricks on the top to support it, which will be linked in with tiles on the rest of the cliff, so I'm not too worried. On the inside I've experimented with the wooden like supported rockwork design. So we saw these back in the docks, and it's basically a crumbly rock wall that's been supported by wooden beams, sort of like holding back the caves, adding support like you're in a mine. And the same effect has been achieved here, just a little bit less complicated because we don't have as much space to play with this time. So it is just a dark bluish grey wall with some beams going across it, and I'm sure we'll see some other techniques as we go through. And then of course we're just using one of the pre-made pillar pieces with once again the black things at the back here to represent the pillars on the inside, and that will just allow me to make it a bit more secure with the wall when we are done and going into next week. But I'm super excited for that, so I'm actually going to finish this video up here. There is a lot lot to look forward to, and of course this is the prison entrance, obviously undecorated, unfinished, but oh, it's going to be so exciting next time. So, I hope you guys enjoyed week 8. Let me know what you thought of the progress we made today. I'm particularly pleased with the archway and obviously this section as well. However, let me tell you, that Technic frame was no fun at all. And I'm very excited to be back here in 2 weeks' time, now on a Friday. I suppose I should give some context to you for the people that actually care, stuck around at the end. We've moved this to Friday temporarily. I had an unexpected personal issue to take care of, and until the end of June, at the hopefully soonest, we will return to normal, putting these guys on Mondays. But it also means that my Wednesday content, Octane Oracle, is moving to every other Monday, and Wednesdays are getting cut out. It's unfortunate. I didn't want to do it, especially after I took a break. Has nothing to do with burnout and nothing to do with me. It's just out of my control, and just to help and do what I need to do. I need to do this, and we're going to go to a skeleton cruise. So hopefully there will be still some content for you guys to enjoy. And I hope you guys stick around for me to return to my full and normal position. But until further notice, until the end of June, these guys will be here on a Friday every other week, and then we'll have our normal custom set showcase as well on a Friday. We'll test out. This might work better, being Zelda Friday and then just normal Monday. We will see. It doesn't matter. But I thought I'd let you guys know here. So you will see me back again on Monday with a normal piece of video, and then in 2 Fridays' time, we will be back on week 9, where we got some planning to do. There's a prison coming, and it is exciting. So I will see you then. Bye-bye.